Hi everyone, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening. Today we are doing a complete front yard transformation.
Curb appeal for days.
Welcome to Not Our Garden here in upstate New York. Today we are in Saratoga Springs. Our good friends, Brandon and Cole, just recently finished a renovation on their front porch, and they have asked us to plant up their front yard. And we are so excited to share this transformation with you today. This is a part sun location that is going to be low maintenance and beautiful year round. Saratoga Springs is famous for horse racing. So one of the things that Brandon and Cole do is they rent this house out in the summertime. So we want to make sure that what we're planting here is very low maintenance because they're not going to be here during the summer. But we also want to ensure that it's gorgeous when they are here in the winter, spring, and fall. And all of that has impacted the plants that we've chosen today. Let's talk about the space. This is a nice compact front yard with great opportunity to do lots of color and lots of texture. This area here is where we'll be adding interest of evergreens and flowers and foliage, as well as over here. There's going to be some repetition, but also some individual plants that are going to make each side unique unto itself.
When you want to add 4 seasons of interest, you absolutely have to land on evergreens, especially first, because this is going to give you structure all season long. Color, texture. Look at this assortment Eric has chosen.
I love that combination of texture and color.
Very proud of Eric. He put together this entire plan, actually, and he even went with our friend Brandon to pick up the plants. So, very nice job
which I have footage
there.
of. We can share that.
Oh yes, you got to see this place. It's a wholesale nursery that is near us, about an hour or so south. They do beautiful jobs with particularly 3-gallon shrubs. Love that. The first one that we're looking at is Anna's Magic Ball, something I have fallen in love with. We added one to our garden this season. It's like a perfect bowling ball shape. It's hardy in zones 3 through 8, gives you this chartreusey color, a little bit of green on the inside, so it has that glowing, almost like holographic effect. This will be a really nice texture and color to add in. The classic Sprinter boxwood, an improved version of Winter Gem. It's hardy for us. This is hardy in zones 5 through 9. Yes, it's 5 through 9 because it's the same as this strong box, ink box holly, which is actually similar in size and shape. They both get about 3 feet tall and wide. This ink box holly is something you can use as an alternative to boxwood if you're in an area that gets the boxwood moth or blighter, all of those things that thankfully we have not had to deal with here in upstate
fingers crossed,
New York.
knock on wood.
But look at this texture contrast. This is going to be really nice. And then our last piece of structure is a green mountain boxwood. This is going to be also hardy in 4 through 9. Gets a little bit taller than the other ones, more of a cone shape up to about 5 feet tall. This could stay nice and clipped, or it can be left to be wild. I think it would be nice with all this texture to keep this kind of clipped in a cone shape to kind of give a little formality to an otherwise informal, loose, beautiful planting. For some incredible foliage accent and size, actually, from both of these plants, are the Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush and a Bloodgood Japanese Maple. They're both hardy in zones 5 through 8. This gives you a really beautiful red foliage, the Japanese Maple. It can get to about 20 to 15 feet tall, 15 feet wide. Since it's gonna be in part sun, I don't think it's gonna get quite that big, but it's gonna be a great accent up at the front corner of the garden, and it's gonna balance out a crabapple tree on the other side, which we do have to take after to do some limbing up, and it'll give some nice balance in the visuals. And the gold smoke bush, as you know, can get quite large if it's given a lot of sun. It generally tops out at 4 to 6 feet tall and wide.
Unless it's our garden where it's topping out at 12 feet.
This is true. The cool thing Eric has designed is this is going to be kind of tucked in very close to this spot with the Bloodgood Japanese Maple way up in front. So this color behind the red, it's just gonna push it forward and give it a lot of
really
depth.
Gonna play off each other. This texture and color combination, I mean, look at the bold leaves on this.
Nice rounded shape.
Totally contrasts the star shape of these maple leaves.
Yep, that nice deep cuts. I mean, the Bloodgood is such a workhorse Japanese maple. We see this all over the place in our area. The next 2 plants that we're featuring in this particular planting scheme are part shade to shade workhorses. They are both native. They both give incredible foliage. They both rival burning bushes in their fall color. They both have wonderful flowers that attract incredible pollinators. They are workhorse plants. This in particular, a fresh new addition that I absolutely need in the garden at home. This is Kodiak Fresh Deer Villa. It's going to be hardy in zones 3 through 8. Again, these are native plants, so they do so well for adding biodiversity and all that good stuff to the garden. But look at this limey green color. The new growth comes out in kind of an orangey, pinky salmon, like a little fall moment. And then again, these will get intense, intense red colors come the fall. The other is the Little Henry Sweet Spire. I think this, Eric, did you read this is one of the oldest Proven Winners plants?
It is. It's one of the original Proven Winners Color Choice shrubs.
Isn't that funny? So this one gets those really nice, long, white tendril looking flowers.
That the hummingbirds love.
Hummingbirds love those. So these are going to be really nice to add into the planting for, I mean, multitudes of reasons, as I have mentioned. And for those same multitudes of reasons, I want this at home.
It wouldn't be a complete garden, in my opinion, if we didn't have hydrangeas. So what we're adding today are 4 of our favorite hydrangeas. And all 4 of these hydrangeas bloom at different times of the season. So they're gonna have gorgeous flowers all season long. The first one to bloom is going to be the Gatsby Pink Oak Leaf Hydrangea. This is an old wood blooming hydrangea, meaning that you do not prune it at all. It'll bloom in zones 5 through 9. It provides great winter interest with its nice, interesting bark, fall foliage color, spring blooms that start out white and then they transition to pink in the summertime. So this is going to be a great addition to this space. The next hydrangea we're adding is an Invincible Ruby Hydrangea. This is a smooth leaf hydrangea. This will be the next one to bloom in late spring. It's hardy in zones 3 through 8. It blooms on new wood, so you can cut it back, or if deer come along or a frost nips it, it's still going to flower. It's going to start, actually you can see some fresh blooms coming right here. A nice saturated ruby bloom that kind of fade to a green as the season progresses. And then as they get even older, they'll turn that bisque color. But this is going to be the second in line to bloom. After that one reaches its peak bloom, then comes the Let's Dance Can Do, which is hardy in zones 4 through 9. And this is gonna get about 4 feet tall and wide. This one will get about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and this one will get about 6 by 6. But Let's Dance Can Do is a completely amazing hydrangea because it blooms on both old and new wood, and it sets buds all along the stem. It's going to bloom either pink or a bluish purple, depending on your soil acidity. They did have an older style big leaf hydrangea planted in this space before, and it bloomed pink. So I'm anticipating this Let's Dance Can Do to also bloom pink in this space. It has a gorgeous lace cap flower that kind of really fills out to the point where you think it's a mop head.
Yeah, this is also my absolute new favorite hydrangea. I'm sorry, Pinky Winky, you've been replaced by Let's Dance Can Do.
Look at this fall foliage color. Another great quality of this shrub. Then after this has reached its peak bloom, then is going to come my favorite panicle, Firelight Tidbit Hydrangea. And this is hardy in zones 3 through 8, right, Christopher? 3 through 8. And this will bloom later in the season, late summer. So as you can see, some fresh blooms are on it now, and they quickly turn this deep, intense pink. And this is only going to be about 2 by 2, 2.5 by 2.5. And so we have our larger, earliest blooming, and then we have our late spring blooming, early summer, late spring, and then mid to late summer bloom. So we're going to have hydrangea flowers all season long in this space. Let's start with the back layer. This is the Green Mountain Boxwood, the Let's Dance Can Do Hydrangea, and another Green Mountain Boxwood. There's a couple of reasons why I chose this configuration. The first one is we wanted evergreen interest here in front of the lattice to help kind of block it in the wintertime, right?
Yeah, and give it a little bit of that. It'll give a nice structure.
Yeah, it's also going to soften the corner. I love an evergreen on the corner of a house to kind of soften that harsh line. These 3 shrubs are the tallest shrubs that are going to be in this area right here. And that's why they are going in the back row. The next layer moving forward in this garden space are the 3 firelight tidbit hydrangeas. I love to plant in odd numbers, like 3 or 5. And you can see that these 3 are shaped. I put them in a diamond shape and I've offset them with the row behind them to kind of fill in those visual spaces. These Durvillas aren't actually going that far. They're just kind of going right here, Christopher.
Oh, perfect.
I know. This is like a shadier spot later in the day. And this bright foliage really pops from the street.
It really does. It's such a good color. I'm sorry,
beautiful.
Eric, we're getting these in the garden.
All right. Then, speaking of bright foliage, this Winecraft Gold is going here on the corner to provide a little softening of the edge and a little privacy looking into the backyard.
Okay, I like that.
So that's where that's going. And then this Japanese maple, this is going up front here to kind of mirror that crabapple tree that's on the other side. What I'm avoiding though is lining it up perfectly with this back row of plantings here. If I line it up perfectly with this back row, it's going to be a little bit too much of a wall visually.
Yeah, that wouldn't be cute.
So it's just going to be bumped a little bit forward. And of course, we're going to rotate it and play with the actual, like what's going to be facing the front, what's going to be facing the back to ensure that the most beautiful portion is facing forward. All right, here are our last 2 types of hydrangeas. This one, Christopher, is what's going to fill the gap here.
Oh.
Isn't that a nice texture?
That is a nice texture contrast. And oh, go ahead.
And then believe it or not, this little ruby, because I know they say so small and sweet, is what's going to greet you as you enter the house.
I'm very curious where Eric has decided on these evergreens going.
I don't think I'm strong enough.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to be strong enough, but I'm not. One day. All right. The strong box is going here. This has a different texture.
I love the strong
than
box
the winter
with
gem.
the tidbit.
This is going here. Again, notice how it's offset. I'm 100% avoiding straight lines. Everything is playing together. Everything's bouncing off of each other. There's no super straight lines minus the back row and the Durvilla. And then the final shrub on this side is going right here and his magic ball.
Here is the finished placement, not the finished planting, obviously. It looks good. There's some balance to both sides, but you can see there's going to be layers of texture, layers of interest, leaf shape, leaf color, all that kinds of stuff. So everything is in place. The next thing we're going to do is get the bed shape cleaned out, remove some sod that needs to be removed, and then we can get planting.
I'm really excited.
So we want to keep this nice and soft, a nice easy to mow around edge. I'm going to use my Roots Layer Edger that I fall in love with a little more every time I plant. I'm going to go 1 boot away from the plant. I think that will be a nice proportional sized bed.
I think it'll be nice. And we did call Dig Safe New York before we started this project. You can see they did give us a flag for that spot. So that is something that if you've never worked in a space before, like we've never worked in this space, we asked the homeowners to call Dig Safe to ensure that we didn't hit anything.
Any plumbing or electrical or gas or, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. This is a really nice measuring technique, I have to say. The 1 boot. So I'm just pushing pretty hard. This soil is fantastic. It's clearly not been worked. So now I have my great edge, and now I think I'll do 1 more of this circular shape. Straight down, lift up. Look at, oh, this is gonna be easy to remove.
Oh, I hope so. This is looking really good, Christopher.
This is such interesting soil. I'm not used to digging in something this. There's definitely a clay element to it.
And Saratoga Springs is also known for their water.
Oh yeah, the strong mineral content in the waters.
I'm gonna try and avoid some shadows. I'm gonna move over here. A nice simple line, not too many curves. It's a very compact space, so we don't need anything fancy. All right, we've got this edged out. Brandon is busy removing sod along the edge there. Christopher's working on this side. And then we also have to work on limbing up this crab apple today because
It keeps stabbing me in the
it
head.
keeps stabbing us in the head. But this is also going to be the pathway to the backyard eventually. And we have some awesome plans for the backyard too, but those are not going to be today.
So this edge is looking really good. A little curve to it. Once we've got it dug out and the sod is removed, usually the very scientific method is to take the side of your shoe, and I just kind of...
Not your favorite shoes.
Not your favorite shoes, but that just kind of smooths it out. And then this straight line down is going to air prune the grass roots so those don't creep up underneath into the bed. At least that's how it's supposed to work. We all know how it actually works. But
it's something you have to maintain all season long.
Yes, but this is a really good way to do it. And then the actual planting bed kind of comes up from this low place in. The mulch goes down on an angle. And again, air prunes those roots out and helps a little bit with your grass creeping into the garden bed.
It's time to start planting. And I think I'm going to start right here in this corner with the Green Mountain boxwood. I'm going to start with the shovel because I'm not quite sure what we're going to find in the ground. We did bring our giant auger to help us if we get tired or if things get more difficult as we move away. But there's a couple of reasons I want to start with the shovel. I don't want to fling dirt everywhere into that nice brand new stained lattice. And I want to be careful close to the foundation because I don't know what kind of rocks or compaction they've done there.
Yeah, that's true. Did we see a Dig New York line that went through there?
There is. It's by the other Green Mountain boxwood.
Okay, so I see. So
that's what that yellow line is.
So this little yellow line that goes up. All right. So you're in the clear to dig.
I'm in the clear to dig. The back row here, it's going to be a little bit higher than the rows in front. We are going to spread compost as mulch today, a good couple of inches. So things will be planted a little bit higher. But I'm also going to add some of this Coast of Maine Scudic blend.
I love the name Scudic. I got to see where on the map Scudic is.
It's a compost and manure blend. It's just to give the soil that little extra oomph. See, I've already hit some rocks. Not going to add in too much, just a little bit. We don't want to create a bathtub effect or anything. Mix it all in. We're not adding drip to this garden bed. We purposely chose plants in this part zone location that wouldn't need that drip once established. Everything is going to get really well watered in heading into the winter. In our zone, in our area, we'll water new plantings in all the way through Thanksgiving.
You can see the back row officially in.
Back row is in. We've hit a snag. Of course, right where this boxwood has to go, there's a giant chunk of concrete, but that seems to be working.
That seems to be working. Ooh, you're doing it.
Yeah, it's working.
Honestly, this is what's under that soil. It is chunks of concrete, and I'm gonna...
Obviously, you should be wearing protective eyewear. Do as we say, not as we do. As I'm watching it fly into your face, Brandon. We wanted to stop and give you a progress update. Here we have the first half of the garden bed planted, and I couldn't be more thrilled with how it has come out. It's not mulch yet with our compost. It's not watered in yet. But we wanted to show you how it looks. I mean, instant impact so far. We have a lot of cleaning up and tidying to do and smoothing of the dirt, but this Blood Good Japanese maple gives instant impact. And look at the glow of the bush honeysuckle.
Honestly, the things that are really standing out right now, Eric, one of them you're in front of, it's the chartreuse.
It really is.
Magic Ball, the Winecraft Gold, and the Fresh are really drawing the eye right to this front landscaping.
And it's making the darker foliage in front of it pop, like that oak leaf. And probably that Gatsby pink oak leaf is the only thing we're gonna have to keep in size check. But everything else, it's gonna be just perfect.
So we're following Eric back to the compost pile. Brandon and Cole had 3 yards delivered.
Look at this compost.
This is really nice.
It is nice.
Is this from Seasons?
It is from Seasons.
That's the company that we used to have ours delivered from. I recognize the quality.
Yes, it's very nice. And so you can see it's still on its way to breaking down. There's almost little chunks of bark mulch in it.
Little crumbles and occasionally round bits.
Yeah.
That remind us it's agricultural. So tidy.
One of the reasons Brandon and I are such good friends is we equally appreciate tidiness.
I brought along our little Fiskars shrub rake, which is, I personally think, the best mulch spreading rake too, because you can get in between things and the little plastic tines don't dig too deep and pull the soil
It's a nice superficial rake.
Yeah, we do have a bigger version of this that's more like a regular leaf rake, but it's the same thing. It's good for smoothing out larger areas.
So down here, we want to ensure that the mulch is not built up onto the root flare of the tree. So if you get under here, Christopher.
Let me sneak in.
I'm just going to pull this compost back and expose as much of that root flare as I can. It should naturally be exposed from what the container was planted in the garden center. But sometimes it's still a little high from there. You can see there it is, where it starts to bow out.
It just gets a little thicker at the base.
Yeah, we want to expose that. We don't want to cover that because sometimes you see people plant trees and it's like this. And that's going to kill the tree.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yes. So we've exposed the root flare. Then we can spread the compost all pretty. And notice how the compost does not meet the level of the grass. Leaves this empty space for air pruning the roots of the grass. We have watered everything in. We have spread the compost. We are filthy, but we are ecstatic because it is finally done, and I love it. We have created a low maintenance, part sun, 4-season of interest garden for our friends here in Saratoga Springs. And I just want to review the plants that we planted. This back row back here, we have our Green Mountain boxwoods with a Let's Dance Can-Do hydrangea in the center. So that's Green Mountain, Let's Dance Green Mountain. A trio of Firelight Tibet panicle hydrangeas. This is about how big they're gonna get. And this is that gorgeous season of color that they're gonna provide. Sprinter boxwood, Anna's Magic Ball arborvitae, and an Invincible ruby hydrangea. And all of that is repeated on this side as well. The boxwoods, the hydrangeas, and the evergreen interest.
Bringing up the side of the house, we have the Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush, which you can see lights up the rest of this planting. The Kodiak Fresh Deer Villa on the sides, giving us that multiple shades of oranges and chartreuse green. This is already Brandon's favorite. Tucked in here is the Gatsby Pink Oak Leaf Hydrangea, which moves us into the Bloodgood Japanese Maple. And down front is the Strongbox Inkberry Holly. And when we zoom over to this side, we have almost the exact same planting, minus a few bigger things. We have the Strongbox Inkberry Holly, and right here is the little Henry Sweetspire that gives us a little more of that interest and helps balance underneath the crabapple, which we've limbed up just a little bit so there's more walking room. But what a wonderful, inviting start to this side of the house. Eric, I'm very impressed. He's been working for a week or two on this plan, went and got the plants, and here we are with a beautiful instant curb appeal. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you, Brandon and Cole, for letting us work on your new home. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.